6:30 tonight, join Ray Martin and Australia's leading political commentators for Election 98. Watch the results unfold live and commercial-free.
With Mike London and Samantha Jume. This is National 9 News.
The leaders admit to Election Day nerves. It looks like a cliffhanger.
Teenage sisters in hospital after a skiing accident.
Australia surges past Pakistan in the first test. Good evening. John Howard and Kim Beazley have both admitted to a bout of nerves as they cast their vote today. And well they might. The last poll of the campaign is predicting an election cliffhanger. Polling booths in the eastern states have just closed and the crucial count is now underway.
At dawn on a day that will make or break his political career, John Howard was sticking to his routine.
Morning. Good luck. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
Risking everything on a new tax, the veteran of election battles admitted he's on edge.
I'm like any other candidate on a day like this. I'm a bit nervous.
On the other side of the country, Kim Beazley had family support to help him through his biggest day in politics. Back in Sydney, the member for Bennelong was campaigning until the end.
You were blocking the voters, that's all. You never block voters on election day.
Like all other Australians, Mr Howard lined up to cast his vote.
A lucky vote, Mr Howard. I hope so. We shall know in a few hours.
For John Howard, it seems every vote will count. A late poll suggesting the government's 27-seat majority is at risk.
The poll today in the paper says Labor's surged ahead in the last few days. What do you say to that?
How are you?
News poll puts Labor ahead by 4 on primary votes. On a two-party preferred basis, Labor has a winning lead of 53% to the Coalition's 47%.
I found it a little difficult to believe.
The opposition leader lodged his vote in Rockingham, south of Perth.
I'm hopeful for today's result. We're still the underdogs and all the last-minute polling leaves us in that status, bar one poll.
In Queensland, Pauline Hanson cast her vote full of confidence and making a bold prediction on the support One Nation will attract.
What's my guess? 12 to 15 seats. Lower house and 6 in the Senate.
Deputy Prime Minister Tim Fischer believes the National Party will survive the challenge.
I think we'll withstand that full frontal assault, but it's been a huge effort.
In Canberra, Meg Lees was hoping the Democrats will hold the balance of power in the Senate.
It is very, very close.
John Howard and Kim Beazley will spend the night on the phone to their scrutineers and glued to the television, waiting like everyone else for a clear sign of an outcome. Damien Ryan, National 9 News.
Queensland is shaping as a key to victory. Both major parties concede between 6 and 8 seats could go to Labor.
Queenslanders turned out early, polling booths packed. A good omen, according to the Labor Premier.
That's normally an indication that people want to change.
Or for a different view, ask a different party.
Sometimes it means they have a very definite view about the government.
Both sides are confident of Queensland's support.
I think that Queensland will deliver a large number of seats federally to the Labor Party.
Overall, I'm expecting Queensland to stand up to the swing quite well.
Hard to tell who is in tune with the voters when much of the electorate remain undecided going in.
There, Australian Liberal Party.
Morning, sir. Liberal Party had a vote card?
Until it was time. You can't put it off any longer inside the booths. No prizes for guessing who the Premier was voting for. Outside, there were more decisions to be made, more pressure. Sizzling sausages, or homemade cakes, or something from the flea market. But through it all, the main question remains, who will the voters trash and who will they treasure? Exit polling showed it was still too close to pick a winner.
Oh, God, I've got no idea.
It'll be pretty close.
Key seats to watch tonight, Dixon being contested by Labor convert Cheryl Curnow. Lily, a real litmus test, the former Labor seat of Capricornia, currently held by the Nationals, and Blair, where One Nation leader Pauline Hanson seeks her return to Canberra. Whose special day will it be?
Let's go.
Counting has now begun. Mitchell Innes, National 9 News.
Now to 9 reporter Melanie Wendt, who's been following the One Nation campaign. She's at the Blair State School, and Melanie, Pauline Hanson is optimistic of a strong showing.
That's right, Mike. Counting has just started in the booth behind me. As you would have just heard in the news, when we spoke to Pauline Hanson this afternoon, she thinks she'll get 12 to 15 lower house seats and up to 6 seats in the Senate. But we know that that's not what the polls say, but who knows what's going to happen.
Mel, do you get the impression One Nation's expecting Queensland to lead the way?
Well, that certainly is the expectation. It'll be interesting to see if One Nation can repeat its Queensland election performance and once again pull up to a quarter of the primary vote. I guess we're lucky in Queensland. This is our second exciting election for the year, and we'll be staying here in Blair all night to bring you the result.
Ray Martin joins us now from the National Tally Room in Canberra, where everyone's ready for the big night.
It seems every time the polls close, we talk about the anticipation, the expectation around the country. But this year, Laurie, there's something different. The experts really don't know, do they?
No, they don't. But there is a sense that a change may be possible, Ray. There are a lot of worried coalition people here in the tally room tonight, very excited Labor people. No one's really saying there'll be a change of government, but there's that feeling that it just might happen.
Certainly Victoria, Queensland, Tasmania look like disaster areas for the government.
They do. There's certainly a big swing to the Labor Party in those states. The coalition is hoping desperately that they can hold on in New South Wales. The opinion polls show the swing in New South Wales to Labor hasn't been as great. The government's hoping it hasn't moved in the last day or two.
And scrutineers from both sides of the fence keep saying to us, watch for a swing here, watch for this individual seat, a whole series of individual seats rather than a swing.
That's right. It won't be a uniform national swing, although I think there will be a pretty big swing across the nation.
All right, we'll come back to you live, of course, after the news from the tally room.
In other news, 2 sisters are in hospital tonight after a boating drama on the Brisbane River. The teenagers received neck and head injuries when their speedboat hit an embankment.
Even before the speedboat made it to shore, medical crews were on board working on the 2 sisters from Rosewood. The 15-year-old was eased off first, a delicate exercise made more difficult by the conditions. A few words of encouragement from an ambulance officer and she was on her way to the Princess Alexandra Hospital. Attention then turned to the 18-year-old who'd been driving the boat when it struck trouble in the Brisbane River. Unconscious, she was stabilised on the boat ramp and treated for head and neck injuries. Richard Hanson was also on the boat. He says it was towing 2 skiers and travelling at about 60 kilometres an hour when it hit the bank near Goodna.
I was looking around watching the skiers and one of them just started pointing towards the front, so I just turned around to see what was happening. The bank was only pretty close, we were just about there. Bang.
A passing craft stopped to help, a mobile phone used to alert authorities to the emergency.
2 of them were thrown up against the dash and I just got thrown up against the seat or something.
Investigations into the cause are continuing.
One theory, the teenager behind the wheel blacked out seconds before impact.
Yeah, we have heard that, but we haven't had a chance to talk to her yet because she's in no state to give us a statement.
Neil Dawley, National 9 News.
An Ipswich man has been attacked with a baseball bat during a home invasion early today. The man and his wife were sleeping when 2 men forced their way into the Cemetery Road house about 3 o'clock. They escaped in this car, which was dumped after being involved in an accident nearby. Police later arrested a 25-year-old man who'd been hiding in bushland. They're still looking for an accomplice. In New South Wales, a 21-year-old man is dead and 2 others injured after a home invasion overnight. 3 or 4 men wearing balaclavas attacked 7 people inside the Wyong house. Police set up roadblocks and searched nearby bushland. They found 1 man and took him away for questioning.
The Noosa Coast Guard has come to the rescue of 2 men on a catamaran after it ran aground on a sandbar this morning. Quick repairs were made, but they didn't work. As the craft was towed into deeper water, it began to sink. The Coast Guard then had to tow it into the Noosa River. In the news ahead, more anger over Victoria's gas crisis.
While in Brisbane, they're loud and livid.
On 60 Minutes, the courage of Kirsten. 10 years of terror on the run from hitmen.
I would have ended up being buried alive.
Also, the pigs bred as spare parts for humans.
Gives life back to a person who is otherwise going to die.
Toyota presents 60 Minutes.
The friendliness you can only find in a subtropical island community, midway between Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast. No wonder NRMA chose Pacific Harbour as the perfect location for this magnificent waterfront prize home. Pacific Harbour, Bribie Island, is a thriving community of casual island comfort, with mainland-style amenities and a wonderland of leisure activities literally in your back garden. And if you thought island living was only for millionaires, look at this marvelous Mediterranean-style home with big indoor and outdoor entertaining spaces for just $179,000, including land. That's extraordinary value at just $179,000. So why dream of this lifestyle when you can live it? See Pacific Harbour's waterfront display homes, including the magnificent NRMA prize home today. Come, cross the water to Pacific Harbour, Bribie Island, an island touch of paradise.
If you're looking for a home loan that uses your income and savings so that you own more of your home much, much faster, Metway would like to apply for the job. Metway's Ready Access reduces home loan interest and pays off your debt faster. And you still have total access to your money. So if you appreciate that time is money, call Metway Bank anytime.
We'd love to do business with you.
In a world of new age sensitivities comes a car that delivers true inner peace. A fully independent rear suspension that's at one with the road. And a new 6-cylinder VCT engine so advanced, it delivers the economy of a 6 with the power you'd expect from a V8. The sensitive new age Fairmont gear. Hug a corner today.
Put your finances in order before Christmas. Monday, a local debt-busting program that's getting rave reviews. Plus, get ready for a Midgie invasion. The council's been caught unprepared and we name the hotspots. Extra 5:30 Monday on 9.
Welcome back. You're watching National 9 News. Esso is continuing to repressure its Longford plant and hopes to have half of Victoria's gas supply back on by Monday. Unlike the fire that followed last week's blast, these flames signal good news.
We would expect to have some gas into the distribution system later in the weekend.
Larger industries will be switched back on first. Homeowners will have to wait until at least Thursday and may not all be rejoined at once.
The latest instalment in the Monica Lewinsky affair has been released to the American public. Among the nearly 5,000 pages of documents are edited transcripts of secret recordings made by Lewinsky's friend Linda Tripp. In the tapes, Lewinsky is heard to discuss how she planned to lie under oath to cover up her affair with the president. She also offers Linda Tripp part ownership of a unit in Sydney if she lies too. Authorities in America now believe they know who the Atlanta bomber is. The problem is they can't find him. Fugitive Eric Rudolph has been on the run since January when he killed an off-duty policeman. Federal investigators are now convinced he bombed Olympic Square in 1996, as well as an abortion clinic and a gay and lesbian nightclub. A formal warrant for the Atlanta attack is expected to be issued next week. And a man in a stolen truck has led police on a high-speed chase through Los Angeles.
He's driving that truck like he's on a sport utility vehicle. He took out a lamp.
Spilling its load of lemonade along the way, the truck hit a car as it sped through an intersection. The man eventually tried to escape on foot, but was arrested in a nearby apartment building.
The world's most famous cowboy, Gene Autry, has died aged 91. Back in the 1930s, he bought a $5 guitar, learned to ride a horse, and the rest, as they say, was history.
Gene Autry was one of the goodies, one of those old-time cowboys who could ride and sing, rescue the ladies, and sort out any number of bad guys.
Who made that remark about all Rangers being cowards?
I did. America's, perhaps the world's favourite cowboy was first spotted as a singer. They bought him a big white hat, and the rest is history.
Sioux City, Sioux, Sioux City, Sioux.
He made over 90 films and 635 recordings. He was the star of hundreds of TV shows. Gene Autry then started a whole new career, becoming one of America's most successful businessmen. He owned TV and radio stations, movie theatres, and the California Angels baseball team. But he's probably best remembered for this, one of the biggest selling records in history.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
Now the 91-year-old singing cowboy has ridden off into his last sunset.
Back in the saddle again.
Robert Penfold, National 9 News, Hollywood.
The election wasn't the only thing on the minds of thousands of young music fans in Brisbane today. They voted with their feet, flocking to the annual Livid Music Festival.
35,000 fans, 5 different stages, 50 bands and one really big mirror ball. The young and the very restless have once again winged their way to the RNA for the Livid Festival. For music fans, it's a chance to let their hair down or up as they enjoy music from some of the most popular alternative bands in the world.
Everyone just coming together and just having a great time, just absolutely going off together.
The festival also provides dozens of Brisbane bands with much-needed exposure as they play up a storm before thousands of fans and the odd record company executive.
Livid gives them a chance to get out and express themselves.
The crowd is expected to keep jumping well into the night when the headline act controversial US rap group Public Enemy takes to the stage. The mood was slightly more sedate at the River Festival today. Rub-a-dub-dub. G-rated entertainment for the littlies, while the older set enjoyed food from some of Brisbane's best restaurants and a little music from another time. The 2-week event closes tomorrow night. Rowan Wen, National 9 News.
He's been in a few mosh pits, but here he is with all the sport, Chris Bombolas, and it's a big weekend for the Rev Heads, Chris.
You better believe it, Mike. Bathurst and the bikes, both happening tomorrow. We'll preview them next, and Larry Cassidy's big day at the races.
Sunday night. The explosive box office blockbuster comes tonight. That's impressive. An all-star cast in an all-action spectacular. Batman Forever premieres Sunday on 9.
Manage funds. Cut the risks enormously of investing into the share market. The average person might have 5 or 6 shares in a portfolio. And yet, with the same investment, it's possible to buy a portfolio of shares through a managed fund of some 70 or 80 shares. And sure, there might be 1 or 2 of those shares that don't work out, but the risks have been cut enormously.
See your financial advisor or call BT.
There's no better way to get together than with KFC's Summer Family Feast. 10 pieces of chicken, large chips, coleslaw, potato and gravy and a Peter's Quartet ice cream, all for just $17.95. KFC's Summer Family Feast.
I'm just a simple, complicated woman. I'm quiet, but I can't shut up. Craziness makes me feel sane. I do what I want. I can't do anything else. Contradiction, a new fragrance for a woman from Calvin Klein.
Good evening. Steve Waugh and Darren Lehman have helped Australia to a dominant position in the first test in Rawalpindi. Their 126-run partnership steered the Australians to a 101 first innings lead with 5 wickets still left. Waugh was eventually out for 157.
28, you wouldn't wave a flag for the Aussies' hopes, but the New South Wales pair wasn't about to raise the white variety. With little fuss or trouble, each registered half-centuries, and as the Pakistani effort began to slip, Waugh and Slater jumped onto the front foot.
Remarkable, and he's just picked that one up.
Slater provided one difficult chance on 66, but the only other catching practice he gave was to those outside the field.
Down he goes again, over the head, and he's done it again.
After 4 hours at the crease, he brought up his 8th Test century and his 2nd on this ground.
He's going for 4, and that's it. And he's delighted, as you can see, a very important innings.
Just too short of a double-century partnership, Slater's knock came to an end.
It's the hardest I've concentrated for some time, and goes down as one of the best innings I've played, I think.
Waugh went on to achieve his milestone, the vice-captain finishing unbeaten on 104 at stumps.
That's the 100 for Steve Waugh.
Today began with earnest discussion between officials from both countries. In the middle, odds-on, Waugh was annoying the Pakistanis as he helped Australia to a first innings lead. Lehmann too looked impressive.
Oh, that's a glorious shot.
The South Australian made his second half-century in as many tests, while after passing 150 for the 8th time in the baggy green, Waugh produced one of the shots of the day.
Oh, look at that. Magnificent shot.
It was his last, though, out immediately after lunch. Andrew Slack, National 9 News.
Mick Doohan will start from pole in tomorrow's Australian 500cc Grand Prix on Phillip Island. Italy's Max Biaggi will line up next to the Aussie, who will claim another world title if he wins.
The riders looked relaxed, but the wildlife didn't want to hang around. On or off the track, the action had a real bite to it.
Biaggi comes screaming off the track. You saw his bike hurtling through the frame there.
Out of that, Biaggi dusted off the dirt, got a new bike, and again tried to mount a challenge. The wind stopped all the riders having a real go today, and Doohan secured the #1 position, courtesy of a flying lap yesterday.
This could be his fastest lap of the session. He won't break.
The win tomorrow will secure Doohan a 5th world title, and for the 7th time this season, the Aussie will start from pole on a track built for speed.
They're fairly daunting corners, you know. We're coming into these corners, some of them anyway, at over 300 kilometres per hour.
And that's when more than the leathers are on the line.
Around turn 11, that is a very fast place to get off.
And Ricard Rydell broke the lap record for 2 litres at Mount Panorama today and will start his Volvo from pole in tomorrow's big race. Rydell set the pace in the top 10 shootout, bettering the Allmark by almost 2 seconds. Stephen Richards and a Nissan Primera will be alongside Rydell. In all, 43 cars will contest Bathurst 1000.
Brilliant bit of driving.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
In soccer, Australia and New Zealand will fight out the final of the Oceania Nations Cup. Last night at Suncorp Stadium, the All-Whites squeezed past Fiji, while the Socceroos overcame Tahiti. The Aussies got out of the blocks fast, with Damien Morey scoring in the 2nd minute. Morey made it a double before half-time, but 7 minutes after the break, the Tahitians stunned the small crowd. Australia gained control late in the match as their opponents began to tire. Morey collected his 3rd hat-trick of the series, while Carl Viet made it 4-1. And jockey Larry Cassidy has had a day to remember at Randwick, riding 4 winners, including the feature Epsom Handicap. Cassidy rode a brilliant race to land the Group 1 event aboard the 4-year-old Dodge.
A big turnout at Royal Randwick, with the time-honoured Epsom silverware up for grabs in one of the most open of events in living memory. Queensland Derby winner Dodge sent out the 6-1 favourite, while the maroon flag was flown by the lightly raced Arm for Action.
Gates open.
Basile Bay set a scorching early pace, giving the backmarkers every chance to swoop home.
It's still Basile Bay at the 100 mark in front, but Dodge is cutting him down. Dodge the inside, Super Slew bursting through. Dodge, Super Slew levelled up to Dodge. Dodge kicked and he won the Epsom Handicap.
A textbook Larry Cassidy display, enough for Dodge to salute by a neck over the roughy Super Slew, with Iron Horse 3rd. Earlier, a new superstar emerged in the form of Dignity Dancer, having just his 5th career start. The 3-year-old showed terrific acceleration to win the Spring Champion Stakes in course record time.
Dignity Dancer at the 100, 2 in front of Lawyer and Arena, and Dignity Dancer, there's a Beale 3-year-old, wins the Champion Stakes.
And Tie the Knot remains favourite for the Caulfield Cup, despite being unplaced in the Turnbull Stakes. Out of luck in the straight, he finished well behind the consistent Kiwi Aerosmith.
But Aerosmith has sprinted away from them, and Aerosmith won it brilliantly.
Ben Dobson, National 9 News.
And after 4 winners on Epsom Day, I think the drinks are on Larry Cassidy.
Yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he? Welcome back from KL2, Bomber. Good to see you.
Great to be back.
Okay. Our weather and beach and bay report next.
Then a record for a high stroller.
Next, live and commercial-free, Ray Martin and Australia's leading commentators bring you all the results as they happen. Election 98, next on 9.
Just how complete is your home loan?
Does it give you a rate guaranteed for the first year to get you off to a good start? Nope. Does it let you redraw your extra repayments if you get sick or lose your job? Perhaps not.
My home loan does all those things because it's from the bank.
Okay, radio silence. The bus will send a message if necessary.
Wider screen for longer messages. Alcatel One Touch Pocket. Be a touch ahead.
The best street in Noosa, by a nautical mile. In a place where waterfront defines the way of life, the promontory must be the pinnacle. The very last prime northerly aspect waterfront land in Noosa waters, the promontory is a lifestyle and an investment that's increasing in rarity each day. If you're serious about maximizing your enjoyment of the best Noosa has to offer, you must visit the promontory today, or risk missing out by the proverbial mile.
On a current affair, love thy neighbour.
You feel like going up and whacking him.
Why, it's easier said than done.
She has never, ever been friendly.
Backyard Barney's ruining families' lives.
These people are abusive, arrogant people.
Behaviour you just won't believe.
You name it, I've seen it.
So how do they get away with it?
Do you get enjoyment peeing on their door?
It was horrible. It was just disgusting.
Plus Hollywood superstar Tom Hanks and the new war movie some say is too real when Noosa presents A Current Affair.
A mainly fine day. There were some showers about the state, mostly on the North Queensland coast. In the southeast, it was pretty much perfect, quite warm in Ipswich. It's still a mighty pleasant 23 degrees in Brisbane, the humidity 64%. As to what's happening around the state, there's a little cloud along the North Queensland coast. Apart from that, we're enjoying mostly clear skies. A ridge extending from the Tasman High is responsible for the coastal showers. It's been all fine elsewhere and quite hot inland. Not much will change tomorrow, although the ridge is expected to weaken with showers decreasing. Interstate now, and it doesn't get much better than this. Perth, the only capital, in for a few showers. Showers too for Cairns. It should be mostly fine elsewhere. Plenty of sunshine in central Queensland, those top temperatures nudging towards the 30-degree mark. And there's no excuse for not making the most of your Sunday if you live in the state's southeast, with ideal weather forecast, a top of 31 for Ipswich. Now, if you didn't make the Brisbane River Festival today, you'll have to get along tomorrow. The weather is going to be perfect, fine, 13 tonight, a top of 26 tomorrow. And we're definitely putting it on with more of the same expected for the next few days. Now to what's happening on the water, we join Gary Howard at the River Festival.
Thanks, Sam. It's been a sensational day to be out in the water today, and it looks like we're in for a sunny Sunday again tomorrow. The Gold Coast beaches were crowded, with plenty of swimmers, but Durango was still the only hope for surfers today. For Sunday, I suggest South Stratty, the Spit and Durango for waves. Gone fishing charters have really been amongst the flathead this week, with this 3-kilo specimen caught at Wavebreak Island. This big female was later released. Up on the Sunshine Coast, Kawana was the pick of the surf beaches, with waves to just under a metre today. For Sunday, Sunshine and Kawana will be the pick for the surfers, and Kings Beach the best for the family. Mooloolaba Reef and game charters took advantage of the fine weather and returned home with some quality snapper and pearl perch from the productive Barwon banks. The coastal waters forecast is variable winds early, tending northeast to 15 knots in the afternoon with seas to 1.5 metres. And for the bay, northwest to northerly winds 10 to 15 knots with seas to 1.2 metres. Mike, tomorrow's going to be another beautiful day to check out the action at the River Festival.
We'll be there, thanks Gary. An Englishman has risked his life to break the altitude record for a walk between two hot air balloons. Without any safety lines, Mike Howard gingerly stepped onto a metal beam more than 6,000 metres above the ground.
The gut feeling just prior to doing it is probably terror, but I'm scared. I am very scared. It's not uncommon for me to actually get the shakes.
The air was so thin, the Daredevil and his crew had to wear oxygen masks. After a successful crossing, Mike caught a quick kiss from his wife before walking the return trip backwards. Talk about a tightrope. I wonder whether the election will be as finely poised tonight, Sam.
Could be. Well, to find out, let's join Ray Martin from the National Tally Room in Canberra. Good night.
Good night.
.30 Tuesday.
You know the first commandment is don't get involved with anyone in the unit.
Sometimes rules are made to be broken.
Need some company?
Feel the sting of Australia's hottest new dramas.
No need for the gun.
Tuesday on 9, Stingers.
Marge, the rains are here.
McCain Super Juicy Corn Cobbets, specially grown to be super juicy. So juicy they're simply bursting with flavour. Ah, McCain, you've done it again.
Domestos kills germs dead.
The friendliness of an island community midway between Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast. No wonder NRMA chose Pacific Harbour for this magnificent waterfront prize home. And if you thought island living was only for millionaires, look at this marvellous Mediterranean-style home with big indoor and outdoor entertaining spaces for just $179,000 including land. Don't just dream this lifestyle. Come cross the water to Pacific Harbour, Bribie Island, an island touch of paradise.
好，现在首先我们要把面煮熟。先在一锅煮。
Looking for direction? Just use your noodle. Noodle Creations. The plain English noodle kit. New from Continental.
For beautiful, healthy plants, just one serve of OSMOCOTE feeds continuously for a whole 9 months. OSMOCOTE helps you Mother Nature.
I am doing the right thing by Australia.
A tax from cradle to grave.
I don't think he's got the ticket to be Prime Minister.
Now live to the National Tally Room in Canberra for Election 98. Your host, Ray Martin.
Hello and welcome. A momentous night, the last federal election of the century. And after 5 weeks, the polls, the pundits and the politicians still can't quite agree on who is going to win tonight. Tonight, we hope to be able to tell you. If you're having a Don's party or anyone else's election party, and I know lots of people are, then stay with us because we'll be first with the news and the views anywhere it happens right across Australia. We might actually have some fun as well, we usually do. As always, Laurie Oakes heads our team. And Laurie, I've never seen the pundits so confused.
No, and the polls are all over the place too, Ray. This is certainly a hard election to call, but just look at the worried coalition faces around the tally room tonight, the excited faces of Labor Party people, and you know that a move might be on. There is a feeling you could see a change of government, maybe not likely, but possible.
In a word, your prediction?
Well, I think a 27-seat hurdle is a pretty big one for Labor to climb, so you'd have to say John Howard will probably survive by a whisker, but I wouldn't be money on it now.
All right, down the pit, as usual, our human computers, Graham Richardson and Michael Kroger, with the best and the hungriest telephone teams. Welcome, gentlemen. Now, someone wrote today, Richo, election predictions are for the strong of nerve. How's your nerves?
You're looking at a coward here. There's no nerve left. I think everyone's terribly nervous. That's what's happened tonight. I mean, no one really knows what's going to happen. It's going to be terribly close. I'd bet money on us not knowing the result at the end of tonight anyway. I think it'll be another week before we know. I've got to go with Laurie. My heart tells me Labor, but 27 seats is too hard. I suspect Howard, but very narrowly, and anything can happen, and I hope I'm wrong for the first time ever.
Michael Kroger, I've never heard Richo capitulate so quickly.
Yeah, well, it's very unusual, Ray. I think tonight will be extremely volatile. I think it'll be very close. I think Howard by a whisker, but
with no great confidence, to be honest, because One Nation has started extraordinarily well in some seats. Pauline Hanson's seat, there's 300 votes counted. She started with 45% of the primary vote, and in Wide Bay they've started with 40%. In Richmond they've started with 5%. The Liberals are in trouble in Tasmania already, and the One Nation party might be doing a lot better than the pollsters predicted during the last 5 weeks.
All right. With us tonight here on the panel, 3 political stars, widely regarded as the next leaders of their parties. Peter Costello, welcome.
Hello, Ray.
Your fearless prediction?
Well, unlike Richo, who hopes he's wrong, I hope I'm right. John Howard by a whisker. Plainly, there has been a bit of a movement in the last week as the scare campaign has come home on the GST, and there's been a movement against the government, I would say, in the last couple of days. But I think that with the majority that the government has, and I'd also say with incumbent and strong people in marginal seats, that's going to count at the end of the night.
But you wouldn't bet the house on it at this stage?
Well, I'm a very conservative gambler.
Simon Crean, welcome too.
Thanks,
now,
Brian.
are you concerned by Michael Kroger's comments there in terms of what happened in Queensland with One Nation? There is a swing towards Labor, but we don't know that One Nation factor.
Well, I think that's right for Queensland. I think it is going to be very hard to call tonight what is precisely going to happen in Queensland. But
you've got to get a lot of seats back in Queensland.
Yes, of course we do. And we are confident that we will win them. Whether we win enough is another question. But Victoria was very good today. The mood in New South Wales was good. So I think it's hard, but it's doable. Some would argue impossible. It's impossible historically. It's some would say impossible because of the 27 seats. But quite frankly, it's gettable. And let's wait and see how it goes.
All right. Natasha Stotter-Spoy, thank you for joining us too.
Pleasure.
This could well be an historic night in lots of ways, but certainly the biggest night for the Democrats ever.
Indeed. Well, we're hoping to pick up between 5 to 7 Senate seats, with an outside chance in Mackellar and Mayo, lower house seats for the Democrats.
In the House, the Coalition or the Labor Party?
Oh, I think it's too close to call despite that swing to Labor, and even a remote chance that you'll see the balance of power held by independents in the House of Representatives.
Are you surprised to hear those figures coming in already for One Nation?
Oh, I'm not surprised. I think they were difficult to ascertain in the polls where they really stood, and I think, yes, still a strong influence, but of course preferences will play a large part in this campaign, whether it's minor parties like One Nation or the Democrats.
All right, so let's look at the challenge tonight. The target for John Howard and Kim Beazley is to win 75 seats. As they win electorates, these benches will begin filling up just as in Parliament. For Labor to take government, it must pick up 27 seats. Now, 27 is that figure we're going to keep reminding you of tonight. And throughout the night, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can watch the count down there, a bit like a scoreboard, with the coalition parties, with the Labor Party and with the One Nation Party. Independents, we will bring you independently. It is a progressive tally throughout the night, how many seats each party's won and how close they're getting to that magic number of 75. Let's get an early indication now if there is a swing towards the Labor Party. This shows us what's happening in the first wave of votes to hit the tally room. Not a fairly small wave, Laurie, but that's to explain what's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, that's right, and there is a small swing away from the coalition evident there, Ray. They're early figures, but they're meaningful figures.
We'll try and explain to you watching tonight. Obviously, green is the National Party, blue is the Liberal Party, and red will be the Labor Party. So there off the top, of course, is the young Anthony's seat there in Richmond. And you'll see, as you watch it, folks, the state that particular seat is in, the name of the sitting member, the swing now as we have it with the percentage of votes counted. So that's worked out by our computer at Channel 9 and our human computers and the scrutineers, Laurie. So we think it's pretty accurate.
That's right, but it varies from seat to seat. There's no uniform swing there yet.
All right, Simon or Natasha, feel free to remark on any of these figures we've got. It is very early, isn't it?
It is very early.
Ray, I've just had a phone call through from South Burnie, and you'd be aware that Burnie was a significant issue down there, a booth that we lost last time with an 8% swing against us has recorded an 11% two-party preferred swing back to us. Now, it's a 450 size booth, so it's a small booth, but it's a pretty significant swing, and it is that regional factor.
Would you expect to win both Bass and Braddon tonight?
Yes, I think that certainly on the state figures down there and the polling, the polls that have come out down there, our hopes of winning both are high. Braddon, of course, is more difficult to win. We haven't held it since 1975, but there was a big swing to Labor across those seats in the state election, and of course we campaigned very strongly in Tasmania with our regional packages and in relation to the Burnie issue. So
Also, Democrat preferences will play a role in those seats, and we're
Yes.
preferencing to the Labor Party.
Preferencing, that's right.
Yes, so I expect they'll win them.
Peter Costello, can I ask you, would you, that figure that I'm being told by some government scrutineers, that some coalition scrutineers, of 8 seats in Victoria, you think you could lose that many?
Well, I think that's a worst-case analysis, Ray. I don't think we will. As I said earlier, obviously there's been an overall swing to Labor, and that was being borne out in the polls in the last couple of days. But you've got to factor in that there have been good, strong local members in these particular seats, and I think some of them will be able to resist a swing which will be coming on a national basis.